Hi guys, my name is Guilherme Valtariz and you are in G Technology channel. If you want to participate with me during this live talking about all of the news of the week, you can click on the link in the description, go to G Tech Live channel and participate with me every Thursday, okay? So Apple and Google crowd out the competition with default apps. A new study shows how Apple and Google's pre-installed apps dominate their mobile platform. If you use an iPhone or Android phone, chances are the majority of your must-use apps were made by Apple and Google. That's the takeaway from a new Comscore study that ranks the popularity of pre-installed iOS and Android apps such as Apple's Message alongside app's made by other developers. The result shows that the majority of apps people use on their phones in the USA come pre-installed by either Apple or Google. The first of its kind reports were commissioned by Facebook, one of Apple's loudest critics, and shared exclusively with The Verge. Pre-installed servers dominate when it comes to basics like weather, photos, and clocks, according to the report, suggesting these categories will be difficult for other apps to compete in. Defaults don't win out exclusively, though Apple Maps and Music don't appear on the iOS list at all. And Gmail makes the iOS list several entries below Apple Mail. The timing and Facebook likely intentioned its Apple and Google are increasingly under scrutiny for how they favor their own services over competitors like Spotify. US lawmakers are currently reviewing a new set of bills designed to curb the power of big tech, including legislation that could potentially bar Apple and Google from giving their services to upper hand against rivals. The pushback stems from how Apple and Google bound their apps and services with their mobile operation systems in ways that some of the competition's think is unfair. The criticism is harsher against Apple, given that it more tightly controls the apps that come pre-installed on the iPhone and doesn't allow developers to circumvent its App Store. At the same time, it has been difficult to know how popular these pre-installed apps are relative to apps made by third-party developers, since Apple and Google don't disclose user numbers from their default apps. Research firms regularly track the popularity of apps that are available for download in App Store, but Comscore's study is the first real attempt at charting how default mobile apps compete against the developers. Just for you know, guys, everywhere, every time you want to buy a new smartphone, you have to buy the smartphone that is selling on the store, that is selling online. And when you have this smartphone at your house, you have a lot of pre-installed apps on your smartphone, like the clock, the RSA, the agenda, the calendar, the messenger, the camera, every app that already came with the smartphone. Because if your smartphone just came with the Play Store, you always have to download everything you need to buy. You have to download notes, you have to download a gallery, you have to download a lot of things that it's essential for you to have in a smartphone. But there are some kinds of companies, some kinds of enterprise, they made some application that we don't use, some kinds of games, some kind of apps that we never use, but we can delete this app because they already came pre-installed on our smartphone. And when you try to delete, you can't delete because it's a company pre-installed app that they put on your smartphone and make your smartphone be with more apps, with more memory, with occupying more storage of your smartphone, and you can delete. But here you see how these apps are pre-installed on our smartphone, like Apple and like Android, and we'll see if it's one of the most used smartphone. one thing I saw here is that in Android smartphones, Google Play is the most installed app. Is that because Google Play is where you download other apps, but it has to be used more because it's logical. So that's one logical thing. Google search, it's one good thing because when you want to search something, if anything you want to search, anything you want to do, you use Google. So Google search is one of the things that I use. YouTube, I'm using YouTube to stream my program, to stream everything I do, to earn my money, is where I use YouTube. Gmail is because you have to have a Gmail account to use Android smartphone, Android apps. To use Google, you have to have Gmail, so you have to use Gmail to use all of those things. Sorry. Facebook, I don't use Facebook anymore. I just use Facebook to go to some apps that need to start with Facebook account. So as I already have a Facebook account, I don't need to put my username and my password every time. I just click on Facebook and this can open the app for me. So Facebook Messenger. So here you can see the all orange bar is Android apps. Orange bar is Android apps. All gray bars is Apple apps. And here you see in iOS, YouTube is the most used Android app on iPhones, and Gmail as well is one of the most used apps on iOS. In Android as well, you don't see any iOS apps on Android because why? Because you can't download iOS app on Android. You can't do that because you just can't download apps from iOS if you have an iOS device, if you have an iPhone. So it's a bad thing for Apple, but what can you do? And let's see things that I don't use. I use Maps, I use Google Drive, I use Photos, I use Contacts, I use Camera, I use Calendar, I use Clock. Google Duo I don't use. So the only thing I don't use here is Google Duo. Facebook I don't use anymore. Facebook Messenger I don't use anymore. Just for sell some things on Facebook Market. Samsung Calculator, I don't use Samsung Calculator, I just use Calculator that already is installed on my smartphone. Let's see. Instagram, of course. Pandora, I don't know what is Pandora. If you can tell me on the description what is Pandora on the comments box. I don't know what is it. Samsung email, I don't use it. And Walmart, I don't use because in Brazil we don't have Walmart yet. But Amazon we have. Amazon is growing bigger in both apps. It's very interesting. And I would like to see more YouTube installed on iOS device. So that's it, guys. That's a very interesting things, a very interesting article that we read today. And if you like to participate with me during this live, please click on the link on the description, go to GTech Live, subscribe in the channel, subscribe in this channel as well, and participate with me every Thursday that I talk to you about all those news. And you can participate with me during this live and tell how are your day, how you do your things, what device you use. Please participate with me if you can participate every Thursday. Okay, so guys, see you guys in the next clip.